Okay, before we start, let's start fighting. What time tomorrow?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock at night?
10 o'clock.
10
Second,
o'clock
the
at
fast
night?
is over. The fast is over about.
Naftali, don't make us say anything.
You wanna do it on the fast?
About 8 o'clock.
Don't bait us.
8:05. I mean, 8:05 is 50.
8:05. So we're doing it before the fast is over or after we eat?
Well, I said let's fight. Let's fight about
Why
it now.
can't we
Why wouldn't we
eat
do it
while
normal time?
we're learning?
Why wouldn't we do it?
Okay,
normal-
so Jesse,
you're not
nobody
gonna
wants to
always
hear
follow
your
the
mouth
learning.
full of food, Jesse.
Hey,
Why wouldn't we do it normal time? 9 o'clock. Are you eating by then?
Jesse, you want to do it while we're eating? The rabbi doesn't get to eat? Either before or after we eat. He gets to eat
That's the
also.
question.
No, you
that's
get to
the
eat. We're not
question.
doing it during the
so then
eating.
let's do it earlier.
Why would we not do it normal time? After we eat, and then come on.
That is one side of the, that's one option. Good option.
What?
What makes you think? What
Naftali,
makes you think I'm eating?
Naftali Lander,
What
to
makes you
say
think
some
I'm eating?
tshuva. Please don't get everyone upset. You have to
Okay.
show up for a month to get a vote.
What did it taste like?
Speaking
Too
about
rubbery for me.
Monday Rosh Hashanah, maybe you shouldn't keep on saying that in public.
It had good flavor. I don't
That's
like
true.
the
We
seeds.
could just do normal
Give
time
me
at
a show up.
8:45.
I get the
Totally
schus.
down.
I mean, listen, I'm having a really hard time being vocal you with all these comments you keep on making in public.
Okay, let's start. Let's
Show
take
up, I get the
focus.
I'm
schus.
listening. Yeah,
What
what?
time is Mincha gonna be? What time is
Let's
the
fight.
Mincha?
I would think about it, Liner. Just think about it hard. Next time you open
Okay.
your mouth.
Naftali's.
Yeah.
Calm down. Mute yourself. What time is What time is Mincha gonna be?
What
What
does,
time is Mincha gonna
Yaakov,
be?
what does mommy say?
That's always a
We're
safe
making
bet.
mincha by mommy.
No, I want to know what mommy's opinion is.
What minion?
Opinion on when we should do the daf.
Mommy's opinion. She's out already. She's out already. She dropped out after brachas like everybody else. I don't know. Zeni, would Oilam rather do it at later or regular time, 9 o'clock, 8:45, or would Oilam rather do it?
I'd be happy
I got a weird
with
question.
regular or early.
One second. I got a weird question, Rabbi. What would you prefer?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about
You
it.
know what Rabbi Stein's going to say. He's going to say whatever the oilam wants.
What does he prefer?
Right.
Liner, we usually ask you that question.
He prefers there be a big machlokes so that not everyone agrees.
I like machlokes. Yeah, I'm happy with that Oilam fighting. That part.
Some
That part.
I'm the Rabbi Shalom Boiler.
You probably had your mind made up before you asked the question. You just want to see what everyone's
I didn't. I didn't. I just thought the Oilam sits around at the end of the fast. They would rather do the daf at the end of the fast before leading up to Ma'ariv. But that's up to the Oilam.
Okay, so what time is the fast over? What time is Ma'ariv?
And the Schultz are probably dominating Ma'ariv around I would say
8 o'clock,
4 to
10 to 8. Yeah.
7:40,
I'm allergic to
7:45.
pot, so let me know
Do
first.
you want to do 6:30?
No, because a lot of guys are going down mincha.
Mincha.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. What time is that Mincha gonna be?
I don't know.
Yashiv is a 6:30 mincha. You can do it after that.
Kalish is 6:50.
I'm gonna look up Mayev right now.
Look it up for where?
I guess Shayashiv, and around the same time, a few minutes, give or take.
Because everybody here is dominating.
No, that's not what I said. Give or take a few minutes. I'll go up Darche. Just you get the.
We know what time it is. Shki is at 7:15, so we know when Ma'ariv is.
Let's do 7 o'clock. Unless people davening mincha then.
Usually I'm about a half hour from the end of mincha.
Yeah, we're gonna do a block and a half tonight.
We're doing a block and a half tonight. At least that's the plan. The plan is to do a block and a half.
It looks like regular time since we don't even know what time Minchas are. So let's just keep it a regular time. 8:45.
Well,
Mincha's gonna be 6:30. Ma'ariv's gonna be 7:45. Ish.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Okay, either way, let's
I'd say
let's start.
you know what I mean? Yeah, we'll make the decision and it is what it is, and too bad.
All right.
Vote too big.
Well, I was thinking.
All right, so why don't you just put it on the group and then nobody will have a chance to be able to answer back.
The
You
five
know what?
admins
That-
can, the five
That's
admins
that's
can
the reason
find out.
exactly why we have it, Landau.
Five
We just
admins
wasted
can find-
15 minutes. We got to do a
No,
block
the
and a
five
half.
admins can fight it out.
I didn't waste anything. I don't have a vote. I don't come normally.
I know, my only thought was if the Olam does Mincha by Aaron Kaplan's 10, we could do a live share then and till Myra. That was the thought.
Okay,
Live
no
or-
sucker life. Done.
What?
Mincha,
I'm in.
live share, Aaron Kaplan, then Myers. But they don't,
Where's
there's
Aaron
no real
Kaplan?
break.
What are you serving?
What do you say?
He'll serve
Serving the
something. I'm sure.
dog.
If we know Aaron, he'll serve something.
We'll find out from him. Find out from him.
Is he on the
All right,
share?
let's roll. All right, let's roll. Let's go. We got to do a block and a half. Shamai Yavrim Sar Kezayis. Right. So the next machlok is in the Mishnah
Where are you starting from?
from Shamai Yavrim Sar Kezayis.
What is it?
What page?
He knows what I was asking. He knows.
Zion Amud Bais. Zion Amud Bais around 10 lines down from the top.
But Masechta.
Beitzah.
Liner, you got that?
My boys. Good job.
I got it. I got it. Zion Amud Bais, 10 lines down.
Singular.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Beshamai and Sar Kezayis. So Beshamai says it's Sar Kezayis. My tamei of Beshamai, right? I guess I'm sorry. It's machlokes Beshamai Hillel. Shamai says Sa'ar kezayis and chametz. Sa'ar kezayis. How does it go again? What is? How does it go again? Shamai says Sa'ar kezayis and chametz is kezayis. Right? A dried fig. Hillel says they're both kezayis. So my tamei of Beshamai. How come Beshamai says that there's two different measurements for chametz? Right, Sa'ar, which is what we call leaven, which I guess is parrots. What's that stuff you make for the sourdough, the starter, right? So, and then regular chametz is kezayis. So my tamei the How come Beshamai differentiates? So he says, "Im can't let everyone a chametz v'loy by Sa'ar." Let the Torah just write chametz, and I don't need Sa'ar. And I can say, "Ma chametz shein chivutza kosher because chametz. That's chametz is just regular chametz bread. It's not considered hard, and it won't make other things chametz. It's a kezayis. Sa'ar shechivutza kosher like kosher cake. Sa'ar, whose chivutza is kosher, shouldn't be a kosher cake. So Sa'ar the kosher of one meaning. So now that I have. If chametz is a kezayis, so why do I have to say Sa'ar? Sa'ar is stronger than your regular run-of-the-mill chametz. So why do we need a specific pasuk for it? To say that the measurement of this one is not like the measurement of this one. Hillel tzrichi and Hillel says no, we need it because of Rahman Sa'ar. Because of it says Sa'ar, you would think that the reason why it says Sa'ar is because it's is kosher. No, they can let them play with the door. Should be closed. Sorry. Yeah. Aval chametz, the chimutz kosher, ain't alike. So, but chametz that's not chimutz is not kosher, meaning it's not so strong to make other things chametz. So maybe I would think that doesn't have an issue at all. So tzricha, that's what we need both. Because of Rahman chametz, okay, so that's the opposite. So if the Torah wrote chametz, we should be roy la'achila, right? Chametz is because it's roy la'achila. Avasar she'ain roy la'achila, right? You can't eat starter, right? Amaloi, so maybe not. So tzricha, so therefore you need, therefore we need to say both. Fine. But Shamai less lu Reb Zeira. Does Shamai not hold Reb Zeira? Dam Reb Zeira pasach hakasik b'sa'ar b'sayin b'chametz lemelach zeu sa'ar b'zeu chametz. Shamai again. Shamai says that the Torah says chametz and it says sa'ar. Two different psukim. Right. So Shamai said it must be. There's a reason that it says two, and therefore it's two separate measurements. But does he not hold the Reb Zeira? The Reb Zeira says that the pasuk says sa'ar and finishes with chametz to say that whatever is sa'ar and whatever is chametz, meaning they're the same. So the Gemara answers a whole new pshat. In Achila, we're on the last break for good yard. We pushed it for as late as possible for you. He just checked in from Chicago. If anybody's so Zion, we're on Zion Amud Bais, the last thin line.
Baruch Hashem.
Yeah, you only missed
Good to
around
be
10,
sure.
12 lines. You only missed 10, 12 lines.
Okay.
Right, so Leini Nachila, Kule Amalek Pligi. For eating, there's no disagreement. Keep Pligi you eat beer. The whole machlokes is by burning. Shamai Savra Lo Yafina Beer Me'achila. We don't learn out the burning of the chametz from the achila. Beisilo Savra Yafina Beer Me'achila. We do learn out beer from achila. Itmar Nami, Amar of Yosef Achanina, machlokes meaning beer. The whole machlokes is how much chametz do you need to have in order to burn, in order to require burning up. In achila, everybody says it's a kezayis. So that totally changes the machlokes now. Right? Now there's no machlokes over what the minimum measurement of chametz is. Right? It's no machlokes about that, at least for eating purposes. So Tani Nami, it says well, it doesn't say bal yimotza, but it says you shouldn't see sa'ar and you shouldn't see chametz. That's the machlokes between Bais Shammai and Bais Hillel. Bais Shammai, kezayis, chametz and kezayis. Bais Shammai says that sa'ar is the kezayis and chametz is kezayis. Bais Hillel says that they're both the kezayis. Yeah, okay, so that's the bottom line. Maskana is that the whole machlokes is over what's the minimum amount of chametz that you need to burn. The minimum amount of chametz is to eating, everybody holds, that's a kezayis. Fine. So it says if somebody shechts a chaya and oif on Yom Tiv, so what did the Gemara say there? What did the Mishnah say? So Bais Shammai says you're allowed to dig with a shovel and cover it over. Again, a chaya and a oif are different than a behema. We'll see this later on, the next stop. It's different than a behema because a behema does not require kisei adam, right? But a chaya and a oif do need it, meaning once the blood from the shechita goes onto the ground, then you have to cover it over with dirt. So the Shamai says when you shech the chaya and oif on Yom Tiv, you dig you're allowed to dig with the shovel, take the dirt and cover it over. The Bais Hillel says you're not allowed to shech unless you have prepared dirt from the day before. Then, if you prepare the dirt, it wouldn't be muksa, then it would be okay. Yeah. So the Gemara's analyzing this. Hashoichet, the eved in lechatchila, right? So when it says hashoichet, what does the word hashoichet mean? One who shecht. It's not telling you that you're allowed to shecht. It's saying if you shechted, then you could go get the dirt. But lechatchila don't shecht if you don't have prepared dirt. Right? So hashoichet the eved in lechatchila lo. It's masha only be the eved and not lechatchila. Same as seifa. We still learn lo yishchot bichlal the Tanakama Sova yishchot. The Sefer says the Bais Hillel says don't shecht. It's mashma that the Tanakama holds that you can shecht. What it means is don't shecht and cover it over, right? But lechatchila, what it means lechatchila you should not shecht it. Right, but what it means is don't shecht it, and then you're gonna have to cover it. If that's the case, aim a seifa. But the seifa is a moedim shim shofan. That if you did shecht it, and a Bais Hillel's moedim sheyachbar b'deker v'yachasa, that you can dig with the decker and cover it over. B'chlal dereisha lavi averu. Right, the last line in the Mishnah says is mashma that if you did, you already shechted, then you're allowed to dig with the shovel. Mashma that the reisha is not. So Maraba Hachikom, Rashaychet Shabbat Limlach. Rashaychet comes to ask. Limlach means he came to ask advice before, not advice. He came to ask the halacha. Is he allowed to shecht? Is he not allowed to shecht? Omer loy Bais Shammai Oimrim. Omer loy shchot chafar b'chasei. They're going to tell him. Bais Shammai says shecht, dig, and cover it over. Bais Hillel Oimrim loy yishchot. Don't shecht elim kain. Don't do it unless you have dirt prepared from yesterday.
I mean, if there's a machlokas between Bais Shammai and Bais Hillel, so now if you're going to say, well, if we're going to ask you, of course there's a machlokas, so of course they're going to have different opinions.
I thought you were
Depends
gonna
who you
ask.
ask.
I thought you were gonna ask. What kind of psak is that? Oh, what kind of psak? Oh, I mean, you go to ask a rabbi a shayla. He says, well, Bais Shamai holds this, and Bais Hillel holds this.
Exactly.
Right.
So does that help me solve the problem?
It doesn't, right? Yeah. So I always wonder when people ask me questions and I text back debatable, and they don't text me back like, okay, what am I supposed to do with that? Some people text back that, and some people just go on their merry way, which I'm very happy about. But that's your kasha. I don't know. I was wondering that. I was wondering, does what kind of tshuva is this?
It's really another way of saying
What?
It's really another way of saying
Why? Is that if you go like
say you don't have to ask, well, what do you do? That's the chatchila. Can I shop? Yeah, shop. You need to sit down.
so what? I understand what kind of answer. What's the guy supposed to do with that?
With what?
With the how you tell him Bais Shamai says yeah, Bais Hillel says no.
No, it's not. They didn't come to ask Rabbi, and Rabbi saying Hashem was Shamai. It's
I don't
another
know.
way of saying what's the halacha with chatchila? Someone would come to that's what chatchila.
Yeah. I don't know. I hear. And then not only that, we have Rabbi Yosef even disagrees with what to say, right? Now Rabbi Yosef is again. Rabbi Yosef Amar Hochikomer, Ashoichet Shabal Li Malach, right? A shoichet that comes to ask, Ketzad, how does he do it? Omer Loi, B'Shamai Omer, Omer Loi, Lechafor Shchoit V'Chasei. Go, dig, shecht, cover. So now Rabbi Yosef changes what Bais Shamai would tell you to do. See, the first sheet, the Rabbah says shchoit, chafor, v'chasei, shecht, dig, cover. Rabbi Yosef is saying, Bais Shamai is saying no, dig, shecht, and cover. This is about as confusing an answer from rabbis as you're going to get. Right? Which way does this go? Yeah, so Amar Le Abai Le Rabbi Yosef Lema Mar V'Rav D'Rab Zera Amar Rav Mafliksu. Amar Rav Zera Amar Rav, meaning they're having machlekes in what Rav Zera says b'shem Rav. Because what does he say? Ashoichet tzarach sheyitin offer lamata v'offer lamala. So if you shecht, you need to put dirt. Not only do you have to put dirt over the blood, you have to put dirt under the blood. Shenemar v'shavach is dami v'chaseu ba'offer. Offer lo nemer ela bi offer. Doesn't say offer, right? You do it bit offer. Malamed shashoichet tzarach sheyitin offer lamata v'offer lamala. The mar is le Rab Zera v'Rabba, less le Rab Zera. One holds Rab Zera, one doesn't hold the Rab Zera. Meaning that the reason why Rab Yosef says that you first dig and then shech and then cover is because you have to dig first to put out dirt, then you put the blood, then you cover with dirt. Right? And Rabba doesn't hold to that, so therefore you could shecht first and then dig in order to cover it over. So Amar Le, then he answered back, no. Bein l'didi, bein l'Rabba, islan Rab Zera. We all hold the Rab Zera that you need to put dirt under the blood and on top of the blood. This is what we're arguing about. Rabba Savar Iyika offer lamata in Eloi Loi. If there's dirt on the bottom, fine. If not, not. Chashina duma mamlech v'loi shachit, because we're afraid you're going to change your mind and you're not going to end up shechting. According to me, it's better. Because if you don't allow it to him, he's not going to end up shechting because he's not going to have simpas yomtiv. Right? If you start waffling on him, he's not going to end up shechting the animal because he's not going to be sure what to do. Right? So therefore, that we're just having a machlokes over whether he can or cannot shech, or should not shech. I guess that would be a better way of saying it. If the dirt was already laid out. Yeah, because if you start laying out dirt, which is an isser, then you decide not to shech. So what are you going to do with that? Right? Now you just did an isser for no reason.
Why isn't he digging already?
What?
Digging
because it's a tzayir. According to Shamai, it's excited.
So that's the problem if he's changes his mind.
Yeah,
That's
he changes his mind, right?
I'm afraid.
Correct. Right, but then and Rabbah is saying no, because if you're not going to allow him, then he's not going to end up shechting, and then he's not going to have simchas yomtiv.
It's a raise going to be moved to the Torah.
Who?
Why is the raise moved to the Torah? It's not
Well, that's-
before Bayrut. I mean, it's not after Bayrut.
I know, so that's the shaila why Shamai is allowing it klal.
Yeah.
What? Because he's considering it part of the shechita. I guess, right? We have Gershon here live. If anybody's wondering who I'm talking to, that we're going to get to in a minute.
I was just thought you'd end up with Naphtali and Gershon both. That's what I was betting on. I bet that on FanDuel. That you'd have
Baruch
both of them.
Hashem, Baruch Hashem,
No.
half my tefillas came true.
Ouch. I'm here helping with I have to help tonight. I'm stuck with this one.
Tamei.
I guess the new year didn't change my.
But if that's what you're diving for, I'm in trouble.
No, I'm in trouble. Yeah. Okay, fine. Let's see. Right. So Bais Hillel's maida. And if you shechted, you have to dig with a shovel and then cover it over. Amar Rav Zika, Amar Rav Yehuda, doesn't mean that Bais Hillel says that you're allowed to take a shovel and just start digging. It's only if you had the shovel stuck into the ground. So Gemara says, cohabitate. That's very nice that's going to take care of. There's like a few potential malachas that are at issue here. It could be plowing. It could be grinding. It could be muksa, right? So when it's stuck into the ground, so then that's not going to be plowing because the thing was already stuck in from before, right? But when you're going to take the dirt, you're going to have to crush the dirt in order to cover over the blood. Right? But you're going to end up crushing it. Now we're on Tamid Aleph, right? With it's talking about where you took loose dirt. So it's loose dirt. So that's not, you're not going to be ever on crushing. I just chopped that today, that the date and the daf are the same this month. I don't know, I chopped it today. I don't know why, middle of davening. It's funny, I'm davening for Ramen and they have this clock and it says today is September 8th. And I said, hey, that's today's daf. I don't know why anybody want. I shouldn't tell Zev. He davened.
Yumi Goodman. No, Yumi Goodman said that today.
Yeah.
In the daf. Yeah.
Now, why this thing is crossing my head while I'm being chazen? Ich weiß nicht. But that's okay. Because they make you watch the clock. They're so busy with the clock, the timing, and the this and that. You spend half the davening looking at the clock.
Well, we eliminated Naphtali, and now we're saying it's the time.
Yeah, strawberries.
They covered it over. Yeah. Right, so for cohabitate kuma, right? But okay, but now you're making a hole, right? Here's interesting. So what's wrong with making a hole? So it's a hole. You're gonna be chayv b'shem binyan. Rashi says you're chayv b'shem binyan. Making a hole, right, is really plowing.
Why isn't it tikkun
Binyan
mana?
in a house. In a house, it's binyan. So it sounds like this is going on in your house. What are you saying, Mike?
Why is it not tikkun mana?
You're not doing mana. You're digging a hole in the ground.
Are you doing it to work the land?
What? Yeah, but you're not fixing any utensils. You're making a hole in the ground. When you take out the shovel, there's going to be a hole there.
Would it be good for the ground? Okay, whatever.
I don't know. So Rashi learns it's binyan. Right? Which, I mean, I understand what Rashi's saying it because we already discussed the plowing part. I think I've already said it's not plowing because the shovel was stuck into the ground from before Yom Tov. That's the
When
only
you take
time
it out, when we take it out, aren't things going to move around?
I guess. But what, Gemara didn't know that before?
I don't know.
Right? Okay, so I don't know. So Gemara answers because Rav Abba, Chayfer Guma b'Shabbos. It's a major yisoid right here with the difference in Rashi and Taisus. But a chayfer guma b'Shabbos, somebody digs a hole on Shabbos. Ve'enei tzarich ela la'afra. and you only need the hole for the dirt, putter aleh, then you're putter on that. Right? Now again, you're digging a hole, so you're doing the exact same thing as if you need the dirt and if you don't need the dirt. Right? So normally the way you dig the reason why you're digging a hole is because you want the hole. But we're saying that if you only need it for the dirt, then it downgrades it from an issa deraisa to a derabbanan.
We're not worried about Marasayan.
Oh, that's later on. That's tomorrow's daf.
Huh.
That's tomorrow's daf, actually. If it's not a different Marasayan, it's still usher, but it's only usher with the derabbanan. So Rashi says that the reason why it's usher, it's the reason why it's not usher with deraisa, it's because it's destruction. You're doing destruction. And since it's destruction, so then it's a derab. We know that kilkul is a derabbanan, which is a very common mistake that people make. People make that on Shabbos, they think they could just do kilkul, right? Because they make a mistake because they think you're allowed to open packages, like food packages, because it says kilkul. It's kilkul. No, for food and for a tzairich, the kilkul is mutter. But stam to sit there cutting up napkins, or people do, they fidget with things and they rip up napkins. That's kilkul. That's for no reason. That's asur. Kilkul is asur midrabbanan. So what he's saying here is all you're doing is kilkul on the ground, so therefore it's not a problem. Taisus, the second Taisus, says that it's more classic. It's a malacha she'en tzricha legufa, because meaning what was the malacha in the Mishkan to dig? For holes, not for dirt. So you're doing a malacha that's not the main reason, which automatically downgrades it to a derabbanan. Yeah. So then it says, but Taisus has a kasha, but it's still asur. Right, it's pater lavar lasser, right, which is really a kasha on Rashi too. But I don't know. Rashi doesn't seem to address it. So Taisus says because of simchas yomtiv, it would be mutter even lechatchila. We're a big chiddush. Now he's saying that isuri derabbanan for simchas yomtiv would be mutter lechatchila, right? So which comes out that what taking showers on yomtiv maybe it's isur derabbanan, but if it's simchas yomtiv, maybe it'd be mutter. No. Yeah. There you go. But I don't know. So Taisus, interesting Taisus. Okay, right.
What happens if it's Simchas Yontif for the guy next to you?
Then don't go to shul.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Parrots, can you mute Gershon on Yontif, Parrots, for you?
I tried, but the Chazan said he really enjoyed having him behind him. So I said,
Yeah.
once or 2 days a year, somebody could be happy.
Okay.
Peretz, is that a silver cup you're drinking out of?
No, I had to make up dolo.
I know Peretz became a rebbe after Rosh Hashanah. He's drinking out of silver kais.
When you drink the type of beer I drink, it's pasnished unless it's in silver.
Yeah. Okay. Sheif Akira Muchanu. So we said that the end of the Mishnah, seemingly random statement. The Mishnah says that because ashes from the oven are considered muchan, and you're allowed to just take ashes from the oven, cover over the blood. Akira man docha Shamai. Who mentioned the name? Where does Efer Kira come in? We're talking about digging dirt in order to cover over the blood, and all of a sudden you say, because or that ashes from the oven are are considered muchan, meaning muchan, like we discussed 2 days ago, is the opposite of muksa, meaning you're allowed to do it. So marava havikamer ve'efer kira muchan. It's not she'efer kira, it means ve'efer, and meaning after the Mishnah finishes discussing that you're supposed to cover over the blood with dirt, it says, and by the way, the ashes from the kira are also considered muchan, and therefore it's muchan. Some Rav Yehuda Marav. That would be, yeah. I don't know if that's the Mishnah's chiddush. Oh. Is that the Mishnah's chiddush, or is that the chiddush is that it's not muksa? No. I think. Okay, so I'm Rav Yehuda Marav. Lo shanu ela shulzim erev Yom Tov. This is only talking about if the ashes were there from erev Yom Tov. Aval husuk b'Yom Tov. But if you're taking the ashes from the barbecue that you made on Yom Tov, right? Usher, that's usher. Why? Because it wasn't considered muchan. It wasn't in the world. Meaning the ashes that were left over from before Yom Tov, you have in your mind, okay, I'm going to use those ashes to cover over the blood. But if you made yourself a barbecue, right, and then you shechted the animal for the barbecue, and then you decide to use the ashes on the barbecue, that those ashes weren't there.
But
Yeah.
if the ashes are there before Yom Tov, and I need to use the oven on Yom Tov, what do I do with the ashes? I have to leave them there. I can remove them.
If they were mukhan, right? If they were mukhan, no problem.
The normal uses for ashes. Back to the shaf on Bais of Hillel.
But
Shampoo.
yeah, I don't know if that's too still, but yeah,
Maybe. That's why it's different.
yeah. See, Rashi says it's taite love.
Right. So what is
So anything, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's yeah. Okay, but your meaning point is that the ashes have to be in existence from Erev Yom Tov. If they come into existence on Yom Tov, you can't possibly say that was in your das. They didn't exist. But then the Gemara says, "V'im roi litzlis by Beitzah mutter." But if it's roi to roast an egg, meaning if the ashes are hot enough that you theoretically can roast an egg in those ashes, then you're allowed to use the ashes to cover the blood. Why? Because it's not muksa, because you could cook with it. Right? So since you could cook with it, it's not muksa, and therefore it's not muksa for that. It's not going to be muksa to cover over the blood. I don't think you're going to be mabashal the dam. No, that's what it says. The egg. I don't know. An egg is the easiest thing. The egg is the easiest thing to cook. Right? Okay, so Tani Nami Shamru Efer Kira Muchan, who when they said that the Efer of the oven is Muchan, that's only when it was heated up in Erev Yom Tov. Was it Yom Tov? Also, if it got heated up on Yom Tov, it's also been right. Litzis by Beitzah mutter. But if the ashes are hot enough to roast an egg with it, which is the easiest thing to cook, then it's going to be mutter, because since you have a use for the eggs, therefore, since you have a use for the ashes that you could cook an egg, therefore it's not muksa, you can use it to cover the blood. If you just brought in dirt to your garden or to your churva, right? That's not exactly clear why it's saying with the churva, but if you brought in the dirt, meaning back then they used dirt for many, many things. You know, you had them if there was a spill, they didn't mop their floors. They needed dirt, they covered it over. Right? But once you brought it in, you had a pile of it, so that means you had it in your das to use the dirt, it's not muksa. You could bring in boxes. It seems like they had like boxes of dirt, and they just used it for whatever they needed. And you could do whatever you want with that. That could also be used to cover over the blood. So Darish Rabba, but you had to have done you had to be meyachid the dirt in a corner, right? It couldn't just be random around the house. You had to be meyachid it into a corner. Like this, it's sort of like you made it not muksa. It's a meisvei. You want to ask the kasha, now the Gemara is going to be discussing this koi business for the next block. Koi it's a big shaila how to pronounce this word. Is it koi or is it kvi? So the art scroll pronounces it koi. A koi is a suffix of whether it's a chaya or a behema. Suffix whether it needs, there's two main nafkaminas. One is whether it needs kisei adam. Like we said, a behema does not need the blood covered over, and a chaya does need the blood covered over. Also, chaylev, right? Chaylev of a behema is not kosher. Chaylev of a chaya is kosher. Right? Continuing with our theme, like that they made everything bedaf complicated. Right? They couldn't say chaylev is all not kosher or all kosher. We have to split it between a chaya and a behema. Okay, right? But that's the Baruch Hashem. That's the Torah. Keep us
so
on
the question would be, if somebody had to eat chaylev, should he eat it from? I guess he should eat from a chaya.
If somebody has to eat chaylev, somebody medically has to eat chaylev, he should go from a chaya, 100%.
Right.
It's mutter, right? It's mutter. So, whatever it is. So this koi or kvi is a suffix, whether it's a behem or a chaya. So let's see what the Gemara has to say about it. It's a meisvei koi ain't shayk to noise to be up that you're not allowed to shecht on Yom Tov, because it's a suffix whether it needs kisi adam or not. Yeah. Now, but why so cover it? Why not cover it with suffix? Meaning, if the dirt is not booked, so who cares? So cover it, shecht it and cover it. So we have to see exactly what the scenario is. So again, koi ain't shayk to noise to be Yom Tov. You don't shecht it on Yom Tov. Im shachtu. And if you did, ein mechasen as dama, you cannot cover the blood. The isa, and if what Rabbi Yehuda said was right, that you have a pile of dirt in your house sitting in the corner, the chasek of the Rabbi Yehuda, why can't you cover it over like Rabbi Yehuda? He says you're allowed to cover over this dirt. So the Gemara asks, tamei, the chasek be'efer kira. Why can't you cover it over with the ashes from your oven, or with a shovel that's stuck into the ground? El the Leslie must be talking about where he didn't have anything. Achanami the Leslie, so he didn't have the dirt to cover it. So we're saying you can't go, since it's only a suffix whether it needs kisei adam. We're not going to allow you to go dig up some dirt according to Shamai or according to Hillel if the shovel's already stuck into the ground. So Moses says, so if that's the case, so why are you saying a suffix? Even a vadai, you can't do anything about it. Right? So it says loimi boy cover. What it's saying, it's a loimi boy. Loimi boy, vadai, the loy lishoy. If it's a vadai, meaning that it's a vadai, that it needs kisui adam, meaning it's a regular chaya, that the loy lishoy, that you shouldn't check. Of a suffix, but if it's a suffix, since it's only a suffix, this is a real lumdus that I could see myself making if I'm really desperate to have lamb on Yom Tov morning. So I'll say to myself, well, not lamb, but koi. Let's say I'm in the mood for koi. So I'll say like this: it's a suffix whether it needs kisei adam, and I need to have my Yom Tov, so I'm going to shecht it. Oh, I don't have dirt to cover it over. Big deal. It's only a suffix whether it needs to be covered. Right? Sounds like a good lumdus. Kamash malon, that no, that's not a lumdus. Now on Amud Bais. We said in the sefer that if you shechted it, don't cover the blood. It must be that the Torah and the ratio where you did have dirt. Meaning we said in the ratio must be talking about where there's no dirt, right? So, but the sefer clearly is talking about that you did have. So it must be that the ratio is talking about where you had dirt. The dirt of a kira is mukhan for a vadai, but it's not mukhan for a suffix. Why not? The suffix my time below. Why is it not mukhan? Why is it not considered prepared for a suffix? The cohabitate guma. You're going to make a hole. So it says vadai nami cohabitate guma. Vadai, you're also going to make a hole, which is very unclear exactly what's going on there. Because right till now we were talking about dirt. All of a sudden, the Gemara shifts to talking about ashes, and also what kind of isser is it to make a hole in your ashes? It's not the ground, right? What's the isser? Okay, so the Mefarshim.
No, I thought they're saying that the ash. I thought they're saying that the ash is permitted to use.
The ash is what?
I thought they're saying the ash is permitted to use. It's not an issue of digging for dirt.
Right. So
that's what it's saying.
I know, but all of a sudden we were talking about dirt, and now
because now we're not talking about having an issue of digging. Now we're going to talk specifically about using something that doesn't even need a digging.
Right. So it's mashma that dirt is already out. Dirt for sure not. Right. That's what you're saying. Now ashes. So now we're on to ashes, and ashes is only works for a vadai, something that vadai needs covering, not something that the suffix. Right. So Gemara says, "Vadai nami covered guma." Vadai also is going to make a hole in the ashes. Now look at the Rav Abba. It must be like Rav Abba. So hachanami is the Rav Abba, right? So it's going like Rav Abba, who says that if you like on the top of the previous of it, who said if your intention is not to make a hole, then it's no problem. So here your intention is not to make a hole. Your intention is to take the ashes. So the Gemara says, "El suffik my timer." Dilma of it Ketisha. And so then a suffix, why can't you do it? Because maybe you're going to crush it. Now again, now the Gemara switches back to dirt. right? So Vadai Nami Nigzam Shum Katisha. So Vadai also we should make a kezayis that you might crush it. Vadai ki cohabitate Katisha asay v'dachias loisa say. Oh, so now you get into a whole sugya. Well, if you're going to ground up the dirt, then you're going to be, that's a mitzvah asay, meaning it's a mitzvah asay to cover over the blood, and it's a loisa set to grind up the dirt. So the asay of covering over the blood is going to be doichet a loisa set of being mechal yomtiv. So the Gemara says, when do we say that an asay is mevatel loisa set? Mila b'tzaras, right, which we discussed a lot in Shabbos, right? We have if on the bris, on the orla, there's tzaras, right? And now you got to give it a bris. And we know that there's an issur d'oraisa to cut off tzaras, but you got to do the bris. So we say that the essay is doichet loisa, the mitzvah say of bris is doichet loisa of tzaras. But that happens at the exact same time, meaning when you cut the skin, you're being makayim the mitzvah of bris at the same time you're being over on the lav. Inami sad and betzitzis. Right? So we know that if you have a linen garment, you're allowed to put tzitzis that are wool on it, right? Because it's what do you call it? It's even though it's klayim, because tzitzis is doichet, but at the exact second that you're putting on the tzitzis, you have the mitzvah, even though you're being over on klayim. The but the same exact time that you're being oiker lav, you're being makayim the say. The kamaker lav, like say here, when you're starting to crush the dirt, you're not being makayim any mitzvah yet. The mitzvah is going to be in 2 minutes when you cover over the blood. So it's not what we call in yeshiva parlance. It's beidna. As it has to be beidna. It has to be at the same time. So when it says kasha, that's not a kasha. It is at the same time. The bahadi the katish kamachasi. At the time that you're crushing it, that's when you're covering over the blood. So when it says yomtiv asay v'loisasehu, but at the end of the day, yomtiv is a mitzvah asay and a loisaseh. Vein asay doiches loisaseh v'asay. A mitzvah asay. We say asay is doiche loisaseh. It's not doiche a asay and a loisaseh. So that reasoning doesn't work. So Rava says that Efer Kira, the ashes of the stove, is taita levada vein. His das was only for vada things and not for suffix things. Was the Rava l'tamei? Tama Rava hitnis offer l'chasis beitzah. If you brought in dirt to cover over tzaya, right, excrement, because somebody went to the bathroom on the floor in the house, right? So if you covered it over, you brought it in to cover tzaya. Mutter l'chasis beitzah. Tam tzipor. It's mutter to cover over, use it to cover tam tzibur. Meaning you brought it in case kids are going to make a mess in the house. So you want to bring in the dirt to cover it. So it's not muksa because you might need it to cover over the feces or the excrement, right? But what happens, can you then use it to do kisei adam? So Gemara says you're allowed to. But tam tzibur, if you brought in the dirt to do kisei adam, also l'chasis b'tzaya, then it's also to use that for tzaya. So meaning, so what this shita is saying is that now we're starting to split muksas. Something could be muksa for one thing and not muksa for another, which is an interesting thing. Like in Amud Aleph, we said as long as you bring in the dirt, you can use it for anything. Here, no, it's totally in exactly what your das is. So this person's das is to use the ashes from the oven for something that vada needs, not for anything that's a suffix. Now, even if you bring it into cover over dam tzipor, it's mutter to cover over tzaya. Now, he's not really arguing on the aside. He's just saying that that's in your das. That's an automatically part of your das. Fine. So on the first white line. Now, Amri b'marava, plugi b'Rab Yosef bar Chama b'Rab Zera. Pamri lo Rava b'Rab Rab Yosef bar Chama b'Rab Zera. Chad Omar koi harehu k'tzaya. One says that koi is like tzaya. Doesn't mean that it's like going to the bath, right? And the chad omer koi ena tzaya, meaning is that in your das? Doesn't mean that we're having a what do you call it? A machloek is whether this animal is considered tzaya. No, meaning is what would it be in your das if you shechted a koi? Would that be in your das to use the dirt to cover it over? So at this time, the Rava who damar koy areu k'tzaya. Let's say that Rava is the one that says that a koy is like tzaya. Damar Rava hichnes offer l'chasas by tzaya. If you brought in dirt to cover over the tzaya, mutter l'chasas by dam tzipor. It's mutter to cover over dam tzipor. Dam tzipor also l'chasas by tzaya, but dam tzipor it's also to cover over tzaya. Right? And so therefore, so it must be that it's a tzaya. No, it's just that I don't think either one's about this stuff. He brought it in for one reason. He brought it in for one reason. It doesn't mean he has das for the other reason. He doesn't, because I guess that's something. Yeah.
If the other reason is a value, he's definitely going to do it.
Then he would have that das. He would have it in his face. Right. So it's for tzaya, and then
yeah, separate tzaya would be a sabbath. You don't know that there is going to be tzaya.
Correct.
Tzaya, once it's there, separate is always going to be tzaya.
Yeah, so the Gemara says this time that Rava is the one that says that the das doesn't work. So Rami Breder Rav Yehu Amar Koi Hainu Time at the Loi. Now we get into more psychology here. Yeah, Rami Breder Rav Yehu Amar Koi Hainu Time at the Loi Machsinon. The reason why we don't allow you to cover over the blood if you shech the koi on Yom Tiv is Gezer Mishum HaToras Chelvoi. We're afraid that you're going to end up using the chaylev. Remember, we said that the chaylev of a behema is aser. Chaylev of a chaya is mutter. A koi is a suffix. We don't know if it's a behema. We don't know if it's a chaya. So, which means that we're not allowed to eat the chaylev. So, if we're going to tell you that if you shech the koi on Yom Tiv, you're allowed to cover over the dirt, then you're going to assume that a koi is a chaya. And you say, oh, it's a chaya. I can eat the chaylev. Right? So therefore we say, no, you can't cover it over like this. You won't come to make a mistake. So Gemara says, okay, so then why are you ever allowed to eat koi? Right? We're saying that during the week, you shech the koi, it's a suffix, you cover over the blood. Oh, you might cover the blood. You say, okay, so let me eat the fats. So you say, no, in the chol, you're just going to say, no, we're doing kisei adam to clean up. We don't want the blood there. It's like, we're doing cleaning. But if you do it on Yom Tif, then that shows that if there's a halachic reason that you're doing it, then you might get mixed up.
Is chatzeri called the Bais?
I would assume so. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, so again, the Gemara says, okay, shochet ba'ashva ma'ikelameima. Let's say the guy shechts in the garbage dump. Then what are you going to say? Well, limlach ma'ikelameima. If he comes to ask you, should I do kisei adam? What are you answering him? Right? You tell him to do it, he's going to think that the chaylev is mutter. Right? So what do you do in these two scenarios? Ella b'chol. During the week, here's where we really get into psychology here. Ella b'chol, inami misapka, amri le rabbanon, zil tarav v'chasi. During the week, even if they tell you it's a suffix, so they say the rabbanon are saying zil tarav v'chasi. Do it because it's a suffix, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be fooled that you're going to eat it for chaylev. I say during the week, why not? We're not sure what to do. Get yourself some dirt and cover it over. But by Yom Tif, but on Yom Tif, if it's a suffix whether it needs kisei adam, are the rabbanon going to tell me to go do a isser of muksa, a potential isser of muksa, to go cover the dam? Must be that it's legit chaya, and therefore the person will end up saying, oh, it must be legitimate chaya, I can eat the chaylev. Again, meaning during the week, if he goes to ask the shaila and they tell him cover it, he's going to think, yeah, they say, what's a big deal? Get some dirt and cover it over. He's not going to necessarily think that lahalacha we paskin, that it's considered a chaya. But if on Yom Tif, the rabbanon tell him, no, you have to go get yourself dirt and do the whole muksa thing and then cover it, he's going to say, oh, this thing for sure has to be a chaya. And that's it. All right. I actually had this shaila. I thought about it today that maybe I botched something. If it's only one thing, it's already a good year. But, so many people are under the assumption that Rosh Hashanah is usher to have relations, right? It's not usher. It's just not, it's one of those Kabbalistic, not suggested,
I thought you said it's only for the one davening for the Amud.
No, that's the 3 days before. On Rosh Hashanah, it's better not to. It's no big deal. Lamaisa. So a lady asked me if she could be with her husband Rosh Hashanah because they're trying to conceive. So I said yes. Then today I'm thinking she probably thinks Yom Kippur is the same Issa. right? Right? Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, holy days. And I'm thinking, am I mechuyev to have told her, but not Yom Kippur?
I don't think so. I think that's implied.
No, I don't think so. I
It's a
mean,
fast day. It's a very different
You're right,
kind of
Jesse,
day.
but I'm just saying, no, but
Fast day.
No, I'm saying
Jesse's
logically,
saying
it's not the
this
same
Yom Kippur
kind
It's
of
one of
day.
the it's one of the main isurim on Yom Kippur. You learn that
no, he's
since
saying, but Jesse's saying that the person won't confuse it with Rosh Hashanah because there are bigger stringent.
They won't even ask.
saying
very
that, but
different
isn't that the top 5 in Yom Kippur?
It is. You're right, but not everybody chaps them. There are a lot of people
Well,
confused.
Rosh Hashanah, there's already room for be lenient. On Yom Kippur, they know no one.
It's mutter on Rosh Hashanah. On Mikir, it's mutter.
What are you talking about? On your cheat sheet, it's not.
It's mutter. You're supposed to go to the mikveh in the morning, which of course
Not
all
what
the
it
men
says.
cop out.
Not what it
all the men
says.
cop out from it.
Not what it
because
says. On your cheat sheet, it says you're not allowed to unless.
It doesn't say not allowed. It doesn't say not allowed. I don't think it says not allowed. Check it out. Ask Naftali Liner. He's a bucky in the sheet. Every time he asks me something on Yom,
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to ask him.
I have it right here.
I'm not allowed to ask him any questions. I don't come onto the daf enough.
Then you can ask questions. You just can't give.
Listen, it's a
opinions on
new
what you want
year. So
something.
far, you're
Yeah,
100%.
You're here, right? You know.
whatever it is, I'm just wondering that there's confusion in halacha.
It
Right?
says it's better
Now, why-
not to have.
Better not. Okay, there you go.
Right.
Okay, better not. But I'm just saying that this confusion.
Now,
of
this
how
is
to-
why we tell you can't open your mouth.
But you said if there's a desire, then it's better to be together. But man should go to the mikveh in the morning before davening.
There you go. There you go. But anyways, here's the thing. So I'm just, how come the Gemara here says what? What was the whole Gemara's kasha? You're asking the Rav, should you go get dirt on Yom Tov to cover over the koy? So the Gemara say that if you're going to tell him to, he might end up eating chaylev. Why can't the Rav in the answer tell him, cover it over, but by the way, don't think that the reason why in Yom Tov you have to cover means that it's a chaya and you're not allowed to eat the chaylev. You can, and you're allowed to eat the chaylev. You're not allowed to eat the chaylev. The Rav didn't have to tell him that.
Because that's with everything, all the gedarim. You can't. They start out same thing with the water. But you can't build a boat. Whatever. I'm saying the whole thing. I'm saying it's always the gedder is there so that you don't have this issue arise.
Good, but I'm saying, but why couldn't the Gemara here is saying that we can't let you cover over you can't check the koy on Yom Tiv because we're gonna have to make you get the dirt, and then if you're gonna get the dirt, you're gonna think that chaylev is mutter. Right? Why don't we just tell everybody, cover it over, but chaylev is awesome. Right? So Elamai, it sounds like you don't have to go give them a shear every time they ask a shayla. On the other hand, maybe you should. I don't know. I don't know. It was my guilt today. Maybe. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's an interesting thing. But anyways, fine. Tani Reb Zera. Like Koi Bilvad Amru, Ella, we're 5 lines over the I'm almost done. Tani Reb Zera. Like Koi Bilvad Amru, Ella Fidu Shachat Behema Chayav Oif. Even if you shech the Behema Chayav Oif in this Arvu Domen Zebazeh, let's say you shech the Behema, which we said does not need Kisiyadam. And then you shech the Chayav Oif, and then of course you got the bloods mixed up. You're not allowed to cover on Yom Tiv. Yeah, so Amar of Yosi Bar Yasinya, Loishanu, Elashain Yachal Chasais bit Kira Achas. This is only if you can't cover it with one shovelful. Aval Yachal Chasais bit Kira Achas, mutter. But if you can do it in one shovelful, then it's going to be mutter. One says Pshita, it's Pashit. Why not? What's the big deal? You have to cover it anyways. To do extra work, you don't know if that blood needs the kisei. But if you're just doing the one shovel, so what's the big deal? The same the kira achas to stay the kira. So you would think that maybe you're going to make a gezerah one shovelful because you might end up doing 2 shovelfuls. That doesn't work. Sure. Let's go to the Mishnah because if we're going to do between Mincha and Ma'ariv tomorrow, then it'll be a shorter time. Samar Rabba shachat tzibur me'erev Yom Tiv. If you shechted a bird on erev Yom Tiv, ein mechasan esav Yom Tiv. You're not allowed to cover it over on Yom Tiv. Why? Because you should have had the dirt from before. Galgal, Isa, and this Gemara here has a lot of practical implications. Galgal, Isa, Me'erev Yom Tif. Let's say you made dough on Erev Yom Tif, mafshir mimena chalasa b'Yom Tif. You're allowed to be mafresh challah on Yom Tif, right? Even though that's tikkun, right? Because and the reason is because you're allowed to make challah on Yom Tif. So if you're allowed to make challah on Yom Tif, so even if you made the challah on Erev Yom Tif, that's okay. Amud, the Shmuel Amar afilu gagal isam Erev Yom Tif ain mafresh mimena chalasa b'Yom Tif. You're not allowed to be mafresh. So the Gemara says, "Lema pligid the Shmuel adavur the Shmuel." Let's say Shmuel disagrees with the father. Shmuel Damar Shmuel chalas chutz la'aretz oichav v'haylach ba'achakach mafresh challah and chutz la'aretz. You're allowed to eat it and then afterwards be mafresh.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Now,
It's okay. So you're allowed to shecht on Yom Tif, right?
yes, make a
So if, you're
you're allowed.
allowed, so if you're allowed to shecht, then part of shechting is you have to clean up. There's going to be blood.
But the kisui adam is not.
Since
you shechted on Erev Yom Tif, you should have done the kisui on Erev Yom Tif too.
No, let's say you shechted it on Yom Tif.
Then you could do, vada. That's the Mishnah. That's a machlokes v'shabbos how you go about doing it.
Sorry, I missed it. I'm sorry. Okay.
No, it was a good question. It was bothering me for a second. Then I chop. No, this is talking about when you shechted it Erev Yom Tif, then you can't do kisui on Yom Tif.
Okay, right.
So what is this halacha? So what is this halacha about the dough? In chutz la'aretz, you don't have to. Again, with most of these mitzvahs atluyas ba'aretz, and chutz la'aretz are much more mekel. So hafrashas challah, don't tell this to the women, but hafrashas challah in chutz la'aretz is a derabana. It's not a deraisa, right? And one of the leniencies of hafrashas challah in chutz la'aretz is that you're allowed to eat the challah before you're mafresh. You have to be mafresh at the end. And where does this come up? Friday night, they're starting to eat the challah, and then the woman remembers she didn't take off challah. So what do? So what you do is you continue eating the challah, and then you leave over a piece of the challah till Motzei Shabbos, and on Motzei Shabbos you separate the challah. That only works in chutz la'aretz. In Eretz Yisrael, you have to stop eating. If you didn't take off the challah in Eretz Yisrael, you got to stop eating immediately. But in chutz la'aretz, you're allowed to. I once heard from Yisrael Reisman that Rabbi Pam, Zechron Livracha, was always mesubik about how they did hafrashas challah. So anytime he had matzah or whatever, he always left over a little piece out hafrashas challah, because he wasn't sure how they were doing it in the big companies. But anyway, but in chutz la'aretz, you have that kula, you're allowed to do it. Right? So that's what you tell people in chutz la'aretz when they forget to take off challah. Right? So that's the major practical part of this Gemara. So Gemara says, so maybe this is chaylik on Shmuel. Abur the Shmuel is chaylik on Shmuel, because here he's saying that you're allowed to take it off on Yom Tov. So my Rava answers, no, Milay Maida Shmuel, Shemkara Le Hashem Shasru L'Zarim. Isn't Shmuel Maida that if you taka did make it truma on Yom Tov, then it would be asur for Yisraelim to eat it, right? Even though you don't have to separate it. Right, you could wait till the end, and you can eat your challah gesund eat on Yom Tov and separate it later. But he'd be maida that if you did separate it, it would be considered a separation. So therefore, that would be included in not taking off trumas and maisus on Yom Tov. So therefore, it's not a stira. He's saying that you shouldn't take it off because it's trumas and maisus, and that's so therefore there's no disagreement. Okay, I hope it was semi-understandable. Okay, tomorrow I guess
Yaakov, Aaron Kaplan's diving in Mincha 6:45, and they called Meyer for 7:40.
Okay, so we could do the daf at is that okay for the island? We do it at around 7:15. It's not such a long daf. We could do from like 7:15 till Ma'ariv. Yeah, so I'm okay with that. Fast. Whatever we do, if we're not mashal, then we'll be mashal.
In the tent? Where? In the tent? No.
In the tent. We'll do it live and on Zoom and both. Yes? No? Anybody have anything to say on that? Or
Fine with me, as long as someone just posts the time on the Daf group.
Okay, so we'll post it. Fine. Okay.
Just wanted to add one thing that I heard from Rav Darzi a few weeks ago. I heard from Rav Darzi that Rav Elyashiv, he was Mishamas Rav Elyashiv for about 30-something years. He said he only saw him cry 2 times. One of the times was when he did Kisari Dam. He was given the mitzvah to do Kisari Dam. I don't know why he cried at that mitzvah. But it was very interesting.
They're having
in 30-something years, he only saw Rav Elyashiv cry twice. One of which was when he
Yeah.
did Kisur Adam. I have no idea why he cried at that for that mitzvah.
What was the other one?
I actually don't recall at the moment.
What?
I mean, it's just, just an interesting. It must be maybe some Kabbalistic or some other reason, but he saw him crying during Kisur Adam. Just interesting. Oh yes, the other one. I'm sorry. The other one was when Yerushalayim was liberated.
Oh yeah, that's a good. That I hear that.
Yeah.
I
have no idea.
Shayoshev is doing what do you call it? If anybody's interested in doing Kisei Adam, somebody in Shayoshev is doing kaparas with the Kisei Adam.
They have it
When?
by 770 also.
I don't know when. They're doing it sometime. I saw there's a sign in the queue.
I asked you a question earlier about the Shechianu by Tekiah Shaifer. And you gave me an answer, but then I came home and my wife was telling me that what happens if a woman misses the brachas? She makes the brachas according to your sheet. What does she do with the Shechianu on the second day?
That's an issue.
Wait, okay, right. So, does she make it or she doesn't make it?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I would think that she should, but I'm not sure.
Kiddush we do, right?
Kiddush you do if you don't have Shechianu.
Kiddush we do, yeah.
Yeah. But now I gotta let all these people out of their misery and tell them who's not allowed to fast tomorrow.
Who's not allowed to fast?
What?
Who's not allowed to fast?
Who doesn't have to, not allowed to, this, that, they're all,
I have a feeling I'm not fast tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. Anyway.
7:15 tomorrow.
Okay, I guess I'll have my wife call you.
What'd you say, Reb Rafe? What time? It's gonna be around 6:15 your time, probably.
Okay.
Give or
Thank
take.
you.
Good Vach. Good yard.
What's